Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, July 14th. I'm Stephanie Haney. This is your morning edition of 3 News Now, where we bring you the top headlines from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Lots of updates for you today, so we're going to get right into it. The city of Akron has voted to mandate masks throughout the city. This is as Summit County is now in a level 3 red alert under the Ohio Department of Health's new alert system related to COVID-19, and that means that masks are required for now in the city of Akron anyway. But Akron Mayor Dan Horrigan introduced this legislation requiring face coverings to be worn in the city under most circumstances last week, and it has now been passed in the city. And the point of this is to allow the city to have control, even if the city and Summit County does fall below that level 3 alert, because under the statewide order, once a county falls below that level 3 red alert, masks are no longer mandated in public in that particular county. Now, with this ordinance, that allows for the city of Akron to impose simple penalties, that includes fines, and also, as I said, to maintain the mandatory face covering order for as long as the city feels it's necessary to stop the spread of COVID-19 in the particular city and not necessarily county-wide. Mayor Dan Horrigan said, "We didn't necessarily want to go here, but we are here as a community." So situations in the city of Akron where face coverings are now required under the city ordinance include if you're inside a public place or a business or a city facility, if you are entering or exiting any of those places, also if you're waiting in line to get into any of those places, in any outdoor space where you can't keep a physical distance of 6 feet from people who aren't in your household. Now, this has raised a lot of confusion for people. If you are outside and you are able to stay 6 feet away from people who don't live in your household, there is not a mask required under this order, and that goes the same for our Ohio Department of Health statewide order for places that are in that level 3 red alert. So keep that in mind. Also, in the city of Akron, the facial coverings are required in any public transportation situation, like if you're in a bus or a taxi or a ride-sharing service like Lyft or Uber or any of those things. Now, there are exceptions in the city of Akron. There's been lots of different talk about age requirements. In the city of Akron, it's under the age of 10 are exempt from the facial covering requirement. You're also exempt while you are actively eating or drinking, or if you're in a bar or restaurant and sitting at your own table or in your own seat at the bar. Also, if you're in a personal vehicle, so if you are driving alone in your own personal or commercial vehicle, you're not required to wear a mask covering. Also, when you're exercising at a gym and you're able to stay more than 6 feet away from people, not requiring that mask covering in the city of Akron. And when you're exercising or walking outdoors, when you can keep more than 6 feet between you and people who don't live in your household. There's also an exception for religious institutions and people whose religious beliefs, as defined under state law, would be substantially burdened by wearing a facial covering. And, of course, any other instances where facial coverings are prohibited by law or would violate established employment practices or industry standards. Now, when we take a look at whether a county is red or purple, we do know that Cuyahoga County has been designated as on the verge of purple, that level 4 alert. Here's what we know about when those designations are being made. A state spokesperson told 3 News that they pull the data on Wednesday and will report the data on Thursday if there are to be changes in any county's designation. Now, the standard for reaching level 4 is meeting 6 to 7 of those key indicators that are outlined under Governor Mike DeWine's 7 key metrics for determining that 4-point color-coded alert system. Local data and risk factors change a lot, so we don't know what's going to happen by Thursday. They'll pull that data tomorrow on Wednesday, and then we'll get the information on Thursday. Here's what a spokesperson told 3 News. We can point out that the difference in guidance between levels 3 and 4 is very thin, which means that right now, the public should be vigilant in staying home as much as possible, wearing masks, observing social distance, washing hands, and cleaning and disinfecting. Here's the key part. This is a quote from a state representative. The current level 3 guidance indicates that people should limit activities as much as possible, and we do not see that happening. So if you are in a level 3 alert community like Cuyahoga County, like Summit County, like Lorain County, like Trumbull County, you are supposed to be limiting activities as much as possible, and the state is saying they do not see that happening. So keep that in mind. Now, let's take a look at where the numbers currently stand with COVID-19 here in the state of Ohio. Yesterday, when we got the new numbers, we did see that the cases were down from the previous day, but they are still in the 1,200s. Deaths were down quite a bit, actually, but hospitalizations were slightly up and ICU admissions did remain the same. Yesterday, we saw 1,261 new cases reported of COVID-19 here in the state of Ohio. That brings our total to just under 67,000. So that's 1 day of decrease, because on Sunday we saw 1,378 new cases reported. The presumed recovered people right now is now at just over 45,000. So if you break that down, 68% of the people who we have known to have COVID-19 here in the state of Ohio are recovered. About 32% are active cases of COVID-19 right now. The positivity rate currently is 6.5%. That's the latest information we have from the Ohio Department of Health. Now, it was 6.7% the previous day, but we are still above the World Health Organization's recommended threshold of 5%. And over the last 7 days, our rolling average is 6.1%. So all of that to say, yes, we are doing more testing, but more tests are coming back positive for COVID-19. So this rise in cases cannot be attributed simply to the fact that there is more testing happening here in the state of Ohio. The total number of people who have now died from COVID-19 in the state of Ohio is 3,064, with 6 new deaths reported on Monday. That's down from 22 new deaths reported on Sunday. The total number of hospitalizations is just over 8,900, with 73 new hospitalizations reported yesterday. The total number of people who are currently hospitalized is 949. So about 10.6% of people who have had COVID-19 who have been hospitalized for COVID-19 are currently hospitalized. And the total number of people now in the ICU is 293. So about a third of the people who are hospitalized right now for COVID-19 are in the intensive care unit. Yesterday we saw 16 new ICU admissions. That was the same as what we saw on Sunday, bringing that total number of ICU admissions for people who have dealt with COVID-19 here in Ohio to now 2,201. Now, as we are in the middle of summer, there are a lot of people who are looking forward to the fall and what that might look like. And Cleveland schools have now given us more information about their reopening plans. We expect to have Cleveland Municipal School District's reopening plans by July 24th. That's according to CMSD CEO Eric Gordon. He says that plan will include a variety of options for how students will experience learning and teaching this year, based largely on the city and county's risk level, as reported by the Ohio's Public Health Advisory System. So as of right now, August 24th is the scheduled first day for students to return to school at schools that go year-round. So that's when they'll begin the next year of instruction. September 8th is right now the scheduled day for students who don't go year-round, so for all other CMSD schools. The district did provide a back-to-school guide that outlines their priorities and anticipated changes, which you can read in full on WKYC.com. We have that document at the bottom of the article about the reopening plans that we expect to see for CMSD on July 24th. CMSD said this in a statement: "Given the strict health and safety guidance for social distancing and deep cleaning routines, it's highly likely that a hybrid learning scenario will be in play." That's according to district officials. So we do expect CMSD to come out with some sort of plan that includes both online and in-person learning, at least in theory, when they come out with those plans on July 24th. Now we have an update to a sad story out of Hollywood. Ventura County Sheriff has confirmed that GLEE star NAYA Rivera's body was found in Lake PIRU. A search and rescue team found her body on Monday morning. Her 4-year-old son told investigators that his mom boosted him back up on the deck of their rented boat before he looked back and saw her disappearing under the water. Ventura County Sheriff Bill Ayoub said on Monday that she must have just mustered up enough energy to get her son back on the boat, but not enough to save herself. Her son, Josie Hollis Dorsey, was found asleep alone in the boat about 3 hours after they had launched on the lake, which is just northwest of Los Angeles. There was a 5-day search for her hopeful recovery, but eventually it was her body that was found floating just below the surface on Monday. They had gone swimming in a part of the lake where swimming is allowed, but she was not wearing a life vest. Her son was wearing a life vest. Authorities do believe that she drowned accidentally and that her body became trapped in vegetation under the lake for several days before it did ultimately float back up to the surface and they were able to recover her body. She was only 33 years old. Our hearts go out to the Rivera family at this time. All right, now we're going to switch gears. We'll be bringing on our 3 News sports analyst, Ben Axelrod. As you know, our Cleveland baseball team is looking at changing its name. So, in the spirit of that, we've been taking a look at different options that people have put out there that people are considering using to change the name here in Cleveland. We're going to bring on Ben to talk about that, and he's going to join us right now.
Yesterday, he talked about the Spiders as a possibility, so we're very excited to talk to him today about the Guardians. Hi, Ben.
Hey, Stephanie, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for joining us here on 3 News Now. We appreciate it. Just letting everyone know that we've been talking about, and we're going to be talking about all week, the different options potentially as Cleveland looks to possibly change its baseball team name. You've got information for us on the Guardians today.
Yeah, the Guardians is one that's kind of gained some traction since the Indians announced they were looking at their name change. A lot of the names that have been linked to a potential replacement have had historical connotations, the Spiders, the Naps, the Buckeyes. The Guardians doesn't really have a historical connotation as far as the Cleveland baseball team is concerned. There's actually a local roller derby team, the Cleveland Guardians, but I don't know if that'd be a trademark issue. But obviously, you look outside of Progressive Field, there's the giant Hope Memorial Bridge that bridges downtown to Ohio City, and it has those 2 sets of Guardians that have really gained prominence here over the course of the last couple of years. So, I think there's a lot of cool marketing opportunities. I think it's something that's both original and it has a connection to the city, obviously. So you look at the betting odds and things of that nature. I mean, it's right up toward the top with some of the other historical names like the Spiders and the Buckeyes.
Well, and you mentioned too, so there's the roller derby team here in Cleveland that had the name the Guardians, but there's other professional teams as well that have been named the Guardians. So this wouldn't really be too far out there.
No, and actually, it's the DC, or it was the New York Guardians. They were in the XFL this past year in the short-lived 5-week run of the XFL. I think there's been a DC Guardians. It's a popular comic book name, Guardians of the Galaxy, and there's some other comic books with it too. So, I mean, that could either be an argument for or against it, that maybe it's not as original in terms of there have been other teams called the Guardians, but it does definitely have a unique connection to Cleveland.
Well, I will personally tell you that I'm not a big fan of spiders. I see enough spiders in my apartment. I don't really want to be wearing a jersey that says Spiders, and I think a lot of people have said that. That's not exactly a hot take, but what are you thinking between Spiders, Guardians, or do you have a favorite?
There's some other ones I like a little bit better, actually. I like Cleveland Buckeyes. That was Cleveland's Negro League team. They won the championship in 1945. There might be some trademark issues there with Ohio State, obviously. Cleveland Baseball Club, that one's really grown on me. Just kind of a simple, kind of soccer style approach to the name. But between Guardians and Spiders, I do like Guardians. I think Guardians, there's a lot of cool marketing things you could do. I'm a big fan of the Hope Memorial Bridge. Used to do some running out there, and big fan of the Guardians there. So I do like the way, the Cavs wore these uniforms a couple of years ago. They were these gray uniforms that had the Guardians up and down the side. So it's definitely something that's kind of become more of a symbol for the city here in the last couple of years.
Well, and you mentioned, too, that bridge is right outside of Progressive Field, so the proximity alone would make a lot of sense. Can you imagine people from out of town driving over Hope Memorial Bridge, seeing the Guardians before they come into Progressive Field to watch the Cleveland Guardians play baseball? That would be very cool.
Oh, yeah. You look outside. I mean, there's definitely like kind of a big stairwell that goes up the stadium. And you look outside and the bridge is right out there. You go there, you know, especially on weekend day games, a lot of people walking across the bridge from Ohio City. It's not that long of a walk down to Town Hall and some of those places. So definitely, I mean, that is, and then, you know, when traffic's leaving, traffic's coming in, it's definitely kind of one of those historical marks that definitely kind of just ties into, I think, the city's love of baseball and has kind of come to represent that and some other things in the city as well.
Very cool. Now, I know, Ben, we'll be hearing from you throughout this week, right, about some of the other possible names and the cases for that. Is that right?
Yeah, on the 5, we're doing a short little hit where I'm breaking down each name. Yesterday we did Spiders. Today we're doing Guardians. We're going to do Buckeyes. Still sorting out which other ones. It's kind of hard to narrow this down to 5, but yeah, we're going to be breaking them down all throughout the week here.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing more of that. Thanks for joining us on 3 News Now. We will see you on the 5 tonight.
Looking forward to it. Thanks.
Thanks, Ben. All right, that was our 3 News sports analyst, Ben Axelrod, breaking down the case for the name change for our Cleveland baseball team. If it does become the Guardians, we will see what happens. Of course, the team has not said officially that they will be changing the name, but Washington's football team did say yesterday officially that they would be changing the name of their organization. The Washington, D.C. football team announced on the same day as our Cleveland baseball team that they were looking into their name, reviewing it. It took them 10 days to make that call in Washington, D.C. We'll see when our Cleveland baseball team makes a determination on that. But there is some interesting legality going on with the Washington, D.C. name change potentially. There's a Virginia man who holds trademarks for probably about all of the name change options for the Washington, D.C. football team. His name is Martin McCauley, and he has been collecting trademarks for years. Here is the interesting kicker, though. He says that he doesn't even want any money for the names that he has trademarked. He simply wants to see a name change. He's been collecting these trademarks since 2014 when talks were picking up at that time about changing the name of the football team in Washington, D.C. There was a Washington Post profile on McCauley from 2015 that detailed his stockpile of trademarks, and he's got a ton of make-believe football merchandise in order to sort of back up those trademark claims, because in order to trademark something, you do have to show that it is in use. So he's got fake football team mugs, fake football team clothing, fake football team foam fingers. He says he's applied for so many trademarks in the last 6 years that he has lost count. So some of the trademark requests he has made include the Washington Sharks, Pandas, Warriors, Senators, Federals, Founders, Natives, Gladiators, and even the Washington Football Club, which that was a possibility that Ben mentioned we might see here, the Cleveland Baseball Club. Most recently, McCauley applied for Washington Red Wolves, Red Tails, Monuments, Veterans, Americans, Renegades, and Red-Tailed Hawks. Here's what McCauley said. He says there's 4 of them that he thinks would make a good replacement name if the football team wanted to use them. And he said he reached out on the 4th of July with an email subject line that said free trademarks. And he said that they could just have them. They can have any of those trademarks if they want them for free. McCauley says he's been a lifelong fan of the Washington, D.C. football team, and he's always felt that a name change was needed. So apparently he's been working hard behind the scenes to secure those names for the team and doesn't even want any money for them. You don't hear about that every day. How about that? All right, that is it for our 3 News Now early update here on Tuesday, July 14th. I'll be back here at 2 p.m. once we get those updated numbers in from the Ohio Department of Health to let you know how we're looking here in terms of our COVID-19 cases in the state of Ohio. Everyone enjoy the rest of your morning. I will see you back here in a little bit. I'm Stephanie Haney.